Intellectually engaging to think outside the lines with conversation about the nation that never leaves you blind. Take a listen and pay attention. Here is where you find the educational, sensational meeting of the minds. Yeah, it's the meeting of the minds. Meeting of the minds.
My name is C'est La Vie. You are watching Meeting of the Minds, and I am here with members of the community. They are part of the LGBT community, and some of them are very, very close friends of mine, co-workers, and just people that I love very dearly, family members of people that I love very dearly, and it is a great honor, and I'm very excited to introduce them to you. So please let me introduce Fatima Mann to you. Welcome, Fatima Mann. It's always a pleasure.
Glad to be here.
This is not your first rodeo here, and it will not be your last. So glad to have you on with us.
Thanks for having me.
I have Kato here. Kato, how do you say your last name? I don't want to butcher it.
Yamakoni.
And Kato works with me. We work together, and she is a ball of sunshine, I just like to say. Yes. Isaiah Haywood is in the house with us as well. And Isaiah is a model, an actor, a dancer, and just a beautiful human being, like a beautiful specimen of a human being. And he's looking like, I'm not an actor, I'm not a model, but yeah, you are. You just don't know it yet. See, so I'm speaking that into existence. The photos that you take are incredible.
Thank you.
So I know you were looking like, no, I'm not, but yeah, you are. So I just speak that into existence for you.
Oh, thank you very much.
You're welcome. They are model-esque pictures, and I have a feeling you're going to do acting, because isn't that something you said you wanted to do?
Yeah, ever since I was a kid, I've always wanted to do
So you are that, and you will do that. So anyways, he was looking like, what are you doing? Say what? I got you. If you're looking for him, maybe we'll drop his email so you can hire him for any acting position that you would like. And with me, I have Jelly. Jelly, say your real name, because I call you Jelly.
Angelica Razzo.
And so she is in the house, a powerhouse of an activist, along with Fatima Mann. They are just in the community doing major things, good things. So I'd like to tell you a little bit about what we're going to talk about. This discussion would be very, very, very hard if it was anyone else. I have specifically chosen you all because of your heart and who you are and the light that shines inside of you all and your ability to maneuver in the world. You know, those of you that are here, I also chose because you know me and you know my heart for reconciliation and you know where I'm coming from when I do certain things, right? You know, I've observed, like, when people question people, like, let's say, for example, you have a Muslim or a Christian and somebody questions their belief. Like, why is it that you believe this? And why is it that you believe that? People get defensive, right? They think that you're attacking them. When you might not be attacking them, you might be wanting to know more information. Some of the questions that I might ask, you know that I already know the answer to, and some of you already know my position on it. But I'm doing it anyway because I want others to experience the things that we have experienced amongst ourselves as well. So this discussion is going to be extremely hard for people that are watching, although I know it's going to be like butter for us when it comes to tension, but it might be hard digging in sometimes about our experiences. But I think people will be surprised at the ability that we have to look at things a certain way. And that's why each and every one of you are here. I am going to take a sharp turn. Like, I should ease into it, but I'm not. So, and that's just how I'm being led. So I want to ask you a question, Fatima. Fatima, how do you work in atmospheres and alongside people that specifically believe that you might be going to hell? You should have seen her face.
So, I just want to make sure I understand the question. How do I work with and for people who might specifically believe that I'm going to hell
for your, let's say,
love of women,
sexuality? Yeah.
Oh, okay. So that's like my whole family, right? Right, a Christian background. If you're gonna be honest, right, being from a Christian background, being a Black American, where people from the African descent tend to be religious of some sort, and in that religion comes the anti, liking of the same sex. If you like the same sex, you are automatically going to hell. So my entire existence since I understood that I loved women have been combating the fact that my family or other Christians or other black people just wouldn't like me. Like, for example, when I started organizing in Austin, I didn't organize as a woman that liked women because I knew that the black community wouldn't support me. Like, I knew the black community would have nothing to do with a leader that was a woman that liked women. So I had to put that in my back pocket and not hide it, but also not put it on the forefront. Actually, like, hurt a lot of my relationships, right? Because I couldn't be, this is my lover, and a group of people I possibly wanted to work with who were black, because they would see me and my lover and not think that the work that I was doing would be beneficial to the community, and I was going to hell because a lot of them, of course, were Christian, and their background said that if I loved women, then therefore I was going to hell. So my entire existence, my entire organizing, my activism has been even battling between do I show up in my full self as a woman who likes women, or do I put that in the back pocket because I know if I don't, then people won't hear the message, people won't hear the aid, the assistance that I have to give, people won't even see me, they'll just see the fact that I like women. So I have worked and continuously still work with knowing that people see my lifestyle as me going to hell. And I have learned that I can't be bothered with what people think about me. My grandmother, I love her to death, she told me that people don't have a heaven or hell to put you in, and because of that, I've held on to that, and knowing that no one has a heaven or hell to put me in. Like, God didn't I wasn't made this way for, I was made this way, period. And what I mean by that is, yes, we have a choice. We have a choice to act on our feelings, and I make that choice. But did I choose to feel this way about women? Did I choose to love women the way that I do? Do I choose to have this attraction to women? Absolutely not. Like, who chooses that? I mean, who chooses something that your entire family will put you on an island for? Because I'm on an island, right? Like, I'm legitimately on an island. Like, my family doesn't talk to me. I don't have a support system because I came out and I decided that I was going to move to Texas with a woman, and I moved to Texas with a woman, and that meant that no one supports my lifestyle. So for me to be able to say that I didn't choose to love women, I didn't choose to be this way, I did choose to act on it, I did make that choice consciously, and I would rather be loved than to be loved by people who won't love me because there's a hell supposedly that I'm supposed to be put in. Mm-hmm. So for me, I don't know a world where I'm not constantly reminded that I'm going to go to hell because I love women.
Okay, pause on that, because we're going to dig deeper into that, what you said, in so many areas. So I've put a marker in several things that you have said. Has anyone else experienced that within maybe their own families, or that experience that because of your sexuality you're going to hell, and how did that make you feel?
Well, there's been some experiences for me. So I identify as a Republican. Mm-hmm. So I work in a lot of conservative spaces. I won't hold
that against you.
Yeah, I work in a lot of conservative spaces. So I think for a lot of the people that I talk to, it's mostly awareness and educating people, which can get tiresome after a while. But there has been conversations. You know you're going to hell, right? I'm doing this for you. Can we get in a circle and pray for you? And I'm just like, yeah, let's, that's fine, I'll entertain it. But at the end of the day, I'll start reading scripture back to them that they might, not even be educated on. And I'm just like, I can use these same skill sets against you, but I'm just going to educate you on my perception.
Can I pause you real quick?
Yeah.
I think it's so interesting that no one ever stops someone that's like fornicating, or like, have you ever seen somebody eat too much at an all-you-can-eat buffet and them stop and be like, you're gonna go to hell? Can we pray about it? Can we get together and we need to have a prayer circle right now? You don't see anyone say, if somebody says damns God's name, I mean, that is huge but you don't see them saying you're going to hell, like right then and there, or you're living with a man. It's very rare that they'll say like you're going to hell at the rate that they do. Feel so free to say that to someone that is loving the same sex. I think that's very strange. I wanted to add that. Keep going, Jelly.
Yeah. So that's been the main thing. You know, I came out very young, probably about 15 years old. So I was always very vocal about my sexuality, telling people I won't conform. I you know, sometimes if I know it makes you uncomfortable, then that's your own skin. But I'm not going to change my perception just for you. But I think the main space that I've seen this is constantly having to educate people that are saying you're going to go to hell. So I used to go to a church here in Austin, a Catholic church, because I identify as a Catholic person, on Altorf. But when I would go in there, I would get stares, judgmental stares, opposed to strong and embracing hugs. So now I go to Mission Impossible, where, you know, everybody's super kind. To Eastside Church, everybody's kind. They accept my sexuality. We just don't talk about it. But it's always weird when I get random strangers who tell me, why do you're so smart, but you're gay. And I'm just like, why does everything get discarded just because of my sexuality? So that's just one of the main areas that I face, you know, discrimination in.
It kind of takes me back a little bit. I have to work at not getting upset, because if there was a concept of hell that Jesus was bringing up in the Bible, it was to the people that were looking at people that way. Like when they brought the woman that was accused of sleeping with somebody, it was always the religious people that were looking down their nose at people, that the notion of hell was presented from Christ to those people. And I just think that to be in that place, how can you look at someone else and worry about the danger of their life when you say that you walk in and they look at you with those eyes? Is beyond me. It's beyond me, Jelly. Like, I'm sorry you've experienced that, really. Isaiah, you were about to say something too. Do you want to jump in on that?
Sure. I was raised pretty religious growing up. I was raised in a Mormon family and religion. So I definitely, all my life have been kind of told or just treated as if I couldn't be myself, and it wasn't until I was an adult, like 22, that I actually came to understand myself a little bit more. But I do realize being treated that way, and it became my reality, kind of, and I started to justify myself for other people, so that they wouldn't judge me as often. And now that I'm realizing that, it's helped me to be able to, be more comfortable as myself and be okay to, just be myself, I guess. But it's interesting that I allowed that to kind of overwhelm me and take over. And I would always try to be like perfect, just because I don't want them to think that way of me. But people, I've realized people are just going to think a certain way about you, whether you like it or not. And it's up to you to be that person, to show them, or teach them. And I think that's what all of us, are capable of doing. Everybody has their own little gift. And I think being, the way that I am is a gift. And I can learn from every single person, because there's other people who struggle with things that I don't struggle with. And they're teachers to me as well as I am to them. And so that's kind of an interesting way to kind of take all of that energy and make light out of it to something positive,
Mm-hmm. Good
but
stuff,
it's
good
definitely
stuff.
yeah.
Kato, do you want to add anything in this area? Or are you just listening, taking it in for now?
Absorbing.
That's totally fine. That's totally fine. So it's interesting to me that people with a religious way of thinking sometimes view you all in this light. But I also am finding sometimes that the LGBT community is now like sometimes returning the same energy. Do you know what I mean? Like, what I'm trying to say is that there is no place for, okay, this is what I'm trying to say. If I think that eating pork is a sin and you don't, I don't disconnect relationship with you. It's not normal for people to do this, right? I can't be your friend because you eat pork and that's haram and you are, right? Like, you don't do that. We don't say you eat pork and I think that's a sin. I'm not your friend anymore. Or you're living in this lifestyle. It's very rare that we say, I'm not your friend anymore. So is there a place where we can say that, like the Christian can say, hey, I believe this, but that's what I believe, and I'm not going to look down my nose at you. I am not going to attack you. I'm not going to treat you ugly. I'm not going to treat you different because you don't think like me. Because we don't do that, like in the area of eating shellfish or pork, and that is a sin, is it not? But we love and say, okay, if that's how you believe, and that, you know, that's between you and Allah, that is between you and God, right? But also the other way, there's the anger that comes the other way for the person. Let's say the person says, okay, I believe that you have a plug and an outlet, right? And these two go together, and that's it, and that's the only way you get power, and that's the way a baby's made, right? If they do believe that, there's the anger sometimes I felt like for that person believing that. So is there a place to accept each other for not thinking the same way concerning a thing? Because some of the very things that I believe are wrong, I participate in. I have participated in. But that's my standard. Like, I might say, I believe that you should wait till you get married, and have done the opposite of that. You know what I'm saying? But that's my standard. That's what I believe. But that's just how I believe. Will you get mad at me because you don't think that I should wait till I get married? Is that an area you're going to get pissed off at me about? So if you have like people in the Nation of Islam who are like, I do not agree, you're great at this. Like, you're an expert at this. I want to know, what is it so that we can transfer that. If somebody from the Nation of Islam is like, sister, I don't believe in homosexuality, right? But yet you're like, that's cool. But some people get angry. What can we do to translate that?
Hurt people.
Come on.
So let's just start there, right? If you're a part of a community that has been ostracized, that has been oppressed, that has continuously been said that you're not enough, even within your own community, right? Like, I am a person of the African diaspora who, like, I'm triply wrong, right? I'm a woman, I'm a person of the African diaspora, and I like women. So that means that if I was going to just like live off of that in that world, that's a lot of hurt, right? Because that's a lot of being ostracized, a lot of oppression. That's a lot of people telling me that I should act this way, I should be this way, I shouldn't do this, I should do that. Everyone is telling me about my life and judging me on the things that they think I am because of how the world says I should be identified as. And then now I'm supposed to take it and sit and be zen in it, right? How does one be zen and happy and peaceful in the fact that you're in a world that is okay with traumatizing you or telling you that you're wrong all the time because you're living as they say, you're living your best life, right? So if we're going to look at it, it's not just like the side of the person who's saying, well, I don't believe in this.
It's them traumatizing.
Right. But doesn't mean that you don't believe it. You don't have to believe in what I'm doing for you to be a good person to me, right? And if we look at humans being good humans to each other, if more Christians were Christ-like, or like if more Muslims acted like Muhammad, right? If we looked at how the prophets acted and how the people who follow the prophets act, it's not the same thing. So you have a hurt community who's tired of being hurt say like, F you, like, fuck you, I don't want to hear that. Like, I don't want to hear that, you know, it takes a plug and an outlet. We know how babies are made, right? I get it. I know how I got here, but you don't have to tell me that. Like, you don't have to continuously push your belief on me, because if a person is continuously pushing, then I'm at some point
it's not effective,
right? And I'm gonna be against the wall, and then I'm gonna feel like I have to push back.
And you're breaking down relationship, right? So would it be better if people waited till they're asked what they believe instead of enforcing their beliefs on someone else.
I don't think it should. I think people should wait until they get to know a person. Like, I think you should get back to the human connection, right? If I got to know you, and if I'm getting to know Isaiah, and me getting to know Isaiah, I can understand what I should say to Isaiah, how I should say it to Isaiah, the way that I should say it to Isaiah, the mannerisms, like what. Then also understanding people have other things in their lives going on, right? Like, my friend tried to kill herself in front of me this week. Boom. But so if somebody came to me on some effed up stuff, I might be like, I don't want to fucking hear you. Like, I don't got nothing for you. But if you know me and you have conversations with me, then you'll be able to see where I am, how I am. So when you start telling me your belief, I can receive it because you know me and you know where I am to receive it. But a lot of times humans, we're not connected to each other, so we have no idea how to embrace each other, how to say, hey sis, I want to reach out and touch you, is that okay? And then do that, right? Like, we don't do that anymore, so you talking about belief will always be a problem.
Hold on real quick, hold on. Thank you for watching Meeting of the Minds. No, I'm just joking, because that is what this is about, like what you just said. Like, who are you to come and try to tell me, like, have you built relationship with me? Like, that you come and you stare down your nose to know why it is I do what I do and why that's major. I think that is huge. Anyone feeling something that they want to chime in? Thoughts? Just listening to it?
Yeah, I'd like to say something. So I understand Fatima's standpoint. I'm a bit more calm and try to talk to people to see why they are the way they are. So there was a post about a year ago. Somebody had gave me a shout out for an award or something, and then some guy said, how could you support someone like that person? So I sent them a message on Facebook. I sent them a friend request, see if they accepted it. I saw it, and there was all this like homophobic stuff, Confederate flag, all on their Facebook page, and I'm like, okay, all right, I guess I kind of understand this guy a bit. So I sent him a message, be like, hey, I saw your message, just wanted to see what your deal is. You don't know me or anything like that. And then he's like, well, how could you? It started off very angry, but then we ended up having a 2-hour Skype call on Google Hangouts. Wow. Found out that he got shot in the head and that he has some mental problems. But, I was just like, the way that you came at me really, really disturbed me as a person. Mm-hmm. So we were able to build a relationship. And he's like, despite that I still might believe that being gay is wrong, I accept that I was wrong for coming at you like that. And I was just like, well, maybe try to figure out why you think that, and let's talk about that. So I still have a relationship with this guy, but I'm always trying to figure out why people think the way they are, and it's called the Socratic method of thinking, right? So why do you think that, and then why do you think that, and then keep going that way. But whenever somebody is just too abrasive and too violent, then it's just a waste of time. That person's ideology is just shot at that point. But if there's a way to be able to create a relationship and figure it out, sometimes I do the opposite of reaching out to that community and trying to educate them. So I think that came from my ideologies, always having to educate people and bring awareness, specifically because of the work that I do as well. But I think most people mean well. You just got to figure out, because we're all one degree of separation from knowing each other, just figuring out that way that we connect. And just being good to people. Mm-hmm. I think, when I see that people are really bad towards the LGBTQ community, I try to befriend that person, bring them around other gay people that are doing good stuff in the community, and maybe that person can have a change of heart. So
I want to say something to people, whoever's watching. Like, God is love. And I think, honestly, one of the most dangerous things to participate in is to be to try to act like you're demonstrating God and demonstrate the opposite of love. Like, whatever you're pointing, if you're a Christian or Muslim, you believe in the accuser of the brethren. We already have an accuser of the brethren, which is Shaitan, Satan. We don't need you accusing anyone, pointing your finger at people. So the minute you begin to do that, you are in the greatest danger. You are in the greatest danger position, because guess what? If you're putting anyone off from God, you're going to hell, right? There's no relationship. You don't even know nothing about them, and you don't know what life they're living. You don't know what their relationship with is God, and you've determined that they're going to hell. They don't want to hear nothing from you, and they don't want to hear anything about the God that you serve. So being, and you know, being the person that repels someone away from God because of that is the most dangerous thing to play with in the world. That is when we see words of hell being thrown around, is when you do stuff like that. So I wanted to make a point on that. Anyone else thinking thoughts that they want to add in?
I think it's wonderful when someone comes at me straight up with whatever they think about whatever I'm doing, about my shaved head, about liking girls, about being a weirdo with the gender thing. That's cool, because that means I can just walk away from that person right now. I don't have to waste my time building any kind of rapport with that person. And like in summer camp, you know, we have the kids that they want to fight with swords, and then there's some kids who don't, and they just sit out. And when they see the other kids having fun, sometimes they'll go and join. So if they want to have an attitude like that, they can just sit out. And if they change their minds and they want to straighten up, they want to start being nice, then they can come sword fight with the rest of us.
Do y'all see why I asked her to be here? I just love her so much. She is my sunshine when I walk into work. Like, if anyone was to hurt her, I don't care what you believe in. I'm about to start crying. I will cut you. I love her so much. I'm getting teary-eyed.
Love you too, say that.
If I love you, I love you too. Okay, so
You know,
go
sorry,
ahead.
just
No,
to chime
jump
in.
in.
One thing I kind of realize when people are, you know, coming at me so aggressively, one thing that everybody I think really just strives for is to be respected and to be loved. And sometimes people turn their energy in a wrong way, and it's like almost like a cry for help. Like, they want attention so badly, they want you to love them so badly that they would rather be against you just so you can give them a little bit of attention, you know? And so it's hard to realize, like, you know, should I sit here and just listen to this person, because I know they're not going to change my mind. Like, I'm already set on what I believe in. But would it be hurtful to me to sit here and listen and just show them that attention that they want and give that to them? Is that wrong of me? Or is it beneficial to, you know, to them and to me? You know, I don't know. So there are, sorry.
Go ahead.
There are times where I will, you know, share my opinion and listen and, you know, engage that conversation. And then there are times where I see there's no ending in the conversation. Nothing's going to come from it. And so I kind of have to end it, you know.
Let it go.
Let it go, yeah,
Yeah,
and
it's
move
case
forward.
by case, definitely.
Yeah, it depends. Like, so even in saying whether or not I choose to give my energy to have a conversation is my choice. And I think that a lot of times when people push their belief on you, they're taking away your choice. And I don't like that. Like, I feel like it's an emotional raping. I feel like you are taking my choice away to say I can handle this conversation or I can't handle this conversation. I think that people really don't get that either, because we live in a society that's been built off of raping and taking. All right, we live in America. Colonization is exactly raping and taking. So people don't understand boundaries, and they don't really understand that I don't have to. Like, I legitimately do not have to, and I think that's a really hard. It's a hard concept for me to understand. Like, for me, like, as a black woman, to be in a world that says my body isn't my own and everyone has access to it, for me to be able to say, I don't have to listen to you. And not because you're not amazing and a great person, but you're not giving me anything that's serving me right now. And everything that you're giving me is like giving me processed food. It's like you're giving me pork or gluten or all the things I'm allergic to. That's what you put on my plate. And because you gave me all the things that cause really bad reactions for me, I'm not going to sit here and eat that. I'm not going to sit here and take that. And I think that that's also hard for our community too, is because we want to treat people how we want to be treated, right? Like, we want people to listen to us, to see us, to engage with us as humans and beings. So we give that even to people who are really, like, they're not deserving of that at all. You deserve for me to honor you as a person, someone that was made. I see you as such, but I don't have to honor this moment, because this moment is an emotional raping. Like, you're legitimately taking from me because for you it means something, and not seeing that, for me, it's traumatizing as hell.
Okay, so let's take out our highlighters and let's highlight this moment. We're gonna have a C'est La Vie highlight moment, okay? You know, I do the interpretation, right? Religious people, what she is saying is that you said that if God gives them a choice, who are you? God gives every human being a choice. Who are you to take a choice away? If God, the omnipotent, universal creator, teacher, counselor, allows everyone to do what it is that they want to do, who are you to come and take it away? I don't see God hounding any of us and forcing any of us to do anything. You said what did you say earlier? Free will is really something.
It is.
So, highlighter moment. Who are you to take people's choices away like that? That's your choice. Can you live like that where you say, well, that's their choice? Just curious. Anyone thinking something right now? Coming up on your... Nope.
People feed off of it, though. They really, they really just... They see how far they can take it. And if you give them a little bit of that attention, then they take it a step further, and then they keep going. This is nothing on the topic, but I realized this also walking downtown. I work downtown, so walking down the street, and there's a lot of homeless people that live in downtown areas. Mm-hmm. And I realized that whenever I'm walking past someone, and they mumble something or, ask me for money or whatever, some food or whatever, if I stop and listen, they go further. They'll keep asking, but if I kind of just initiate in the beginning, like all I have, I don't have any money, all I have is a card, and then just keep it going, they get that, and I think that's how it works. I think that correlates, also when people come at you that way, because they're like they get that type of attention, and once you give that to them, they feed off of it. It's interesting.
It is. Let's shift a little bit of gears. Next thing we are going to talk about is pronouns. So when I started working teaching kids the beautiful art of swinging a sword, the place that I work at, I was exposed to many people in this world of pronouns being different. It's new to me, really. Like, I had heard a few people, but like at work, it's just like a lot of people, you have to know what their pronouns are, right? So let's talk about that a little bit. I'm going to ask everyone's pronouns real quickly. So, Kato, what are your pronouns?
They, them.
Okay.
Fatima? Say that again?
They, them. So
we're going to talk about, we'll talk about it. I'm going to come back to you to elaborate. Fatima, what are your pronouns?
Fatima?
Okay. All right.
She, her.
I like Fatima. I like Isaiah.
But earlier you had said...
he, or...
Okay. That's cool.
Yeah.
That's cool. Final
if it's
answer,
any, it's any.
Yeah.
But that's not how I really feel. Earlier I was so caught off guard. I've never been asked that question, so I was like, wait.
That's not how you really feel.
No.
Yeah. Because you say like, who, like, who, I love your post. I don't remember what you say, but I love the things. There's a song, Who Is This Pretty Girl I See? What is that song?
Oh, yeah. Who is that girl I see?
Yeah. So is that what you're referring to when you say?
I honestly, I'll call myself he one day, I'll call myself she the next. And it's just kind of that way. I like to have fun with it. I'm not really a label.
Okay, got you. Okay, so you want to elaborate on the they, their, them?
So, they, them can be used as a intermediate, like to refer to thinking of yourself in an intermediate gender between male and female. You may lean more one way or more the other way. You can be sort of like gender ambidextrous. That's not a thing. It's just an example. You can also feel that no gender applies to you, and oftentimes those people will call themselves agender. Some people just go through the full spectrum, like you'll switch between your right hand and your left hand, and just today I'm a lefty, and so today I'm she, her. And if you're never sure, you can just ask a person like, hey, so what are your pronouns, like Jelly did earlier and like you did now.
So I am going to be honest, because of the shifting, and one day it's he, her, or whatever, and not only that, I'm going to be very honest about it in just a moment. I use they, their, them period. Y'all might have to school me on this. I might need to learn something, to be honest with you. I'll tell you what it is I think, and then y'all can teach me, because it's my heart to learn. I'm not trying to be any certain kind of way about it. So for me, I have a little bit of a problem with there being, like, for me, you have XX chromosome and you have XY chromosome. And I don't understand what's the problem with being labeled like a male or a female. Like, I think the real problem, this is just my opinions, is that we have culture or customs around what a male and a female should be. Do you understand what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. And that's the area that is trying to be broken down. It is the patriarchy. It is the system which says a male only dresses like this. But really, that is just what culture dictates, right? Because let's say, for example, at one point in European standards, they wore high heels. That was what men wore. Now it's what females wear. So clothing and accessories and how you maneuver in the world is subject to change as cultures change, right? On what that means. So I don't understand, like, what is wrong with saying I have two XX chromosomes or I have an XY chromosome? Yeah, go for it, teach.
I'm going to throw it down real quick.
Right.
So, fun fact, we don't all have XX chromosome or XY chromosome. Some people have XXX. Some people have XYX.
Okay.
Some people have XZ. What is that? I don't know. That's wild. Human gender is as complicated as... we even see it in plants. Okay, I tell all the kids this. I'm the Demeter cabin counselor, so we talk about plants a lot. Trees, there's male and there's female trees in some species. Some species are hermaphroditic. Even in the species that have gender separation, there are hermaphroditic trees, and they're not rare. They're very common. You can even graft a part of a female tree to a male tree so that that tree can bear fruit and pollinate itself. That's crazy. Like, just imagine how complex gender must be for creatures as complex as humans are.
But is it okay to call like an XX chromosome female? Or let's just change it. Let's call it rat-a-tatty. Yeah, pineapples.
Oh, can we call it
magic?
Yes, I like it.
All right.
Let's call it magic. I like magic.
Okay, so it's the word, it's the concept. I don't have a problem with it, but I think it's deeper. I think the problem is deeper.
No, we have to absolutely smash the patriarchy.
That's what I think
question.
is the real thing that people are going after. It's not. There's not right now at the scientific level that we're at. There's nothing to change an XX chromosome or an XY chromosome. You either got the Y or you either got it or you don't. And so I don't understand what's wrong with saying this is a male or this is female if you have the XY. Yes, I believe you. There are variations.
Extremely common.
Yeah. So what's wrong with saying this is a pineapple? This is an apple. I think it's the other stuff that is making this stuff that way. Because like Prince. I mean, nobody got a problem with Prince being Prince. I mean, Prince was Prince.
And everybody wanted Prince. No matter, everybody wanted Prince, man. No matter what you called yourself, everybody wanted Prince. Everybody.
But that's the thing that is the real thing, is that saying, this is how you must maneuver in the world, and this is how you must, and males can only be allowed this, and females can only be allowed this, and when you're a male, you have these opportunities, and when you have female, this is opportunities, and you can't move like this, and you can't do like this, and you can't wear eyeliner like this. That's what I really think the thing is.
So I have a problem with labels, period, because they're so divisive. Labels are lines, they're boundaries that keep you in a box of some sort. No matter what you call yourself, you're bound to the definition of the label and what you call yourself. Hence why I don't like labels. And I think, for me, I came out when I was 15. So the pronoun thing and a lot of the terminology that is now a big hoopla is very foreign to me.
Me too,
because I grew up very privileged in the sense that all my friends were in the Rainbow Tribe. Like until I moved to Austin, all of my whole crew, all the parties I went to, all the shows I did, everybody was the Rainbow Tribe. And Miss Becky was Miss Becky. No one cared that she was born Tom. And Mr. Mike was Mr. Mike. No one cared that he was born Sarah. No one asked questions. It was the tribe. The tribe, when we're amongst the tribe, like you are the name in which you've given yourself. There wasn't any other label of being trans or gay or whatever. It was, you are who you liked, you liked who you liked, it was what it was. I moved to Austin and I have to have a label now. I have to figure out what my pronouns are. I have to figure out, because there's so many educated people here, and I don't come from an educated background. I don't come from people who've been like college goers. That's not the family that I come from. So I didn't grow up around a lot of academic terminology, and I really feel like a lot of the things that are happening in the LGBTQIA world is academic. It's really like, if you are this, then you should be that. And for me and the people that I've grown up with and know and are still cool with, we're all just chilling around like, so who talked to us about whether this is the trend we wanted to be a part of? Because this is a trend. It's a trend that just happened in the last 5 years. And I personally don't understand it, because in nature, right, you must have one thing and the other thing to create life, period. I don't care what the things are, what you call the thing. In nature, you have to have one of something and another of something else to come together to have life. That's what we call male, female, or whatever. But what happens is now we've attached the procreation to gender, and that's not the same thing. Like if you look in Africa or other like Eastern cultures, there are 5 to 10 different types of genders one could be a part of. In Africa, you could be a woman and take on other wives because you had your male ancestor who you connected with, and they didn't call that homosexuality until they were colonized. So being able to say like, where are we getting these terminologies? Like, who gave us the concept of having to use these words? Who gave us the concept of gender? And then saying, why do we subscribe to it?
And I'm trying to learn, and I'm not afraid to say that I don't understand or this is how I think. And that's the area of beauty, is that one of you could be looking at me like, I don't agree with that, Sayla. And I'm like, I don't agree with that too. Do you want to go have beers? Yeah, like I don't know what to tell you, but I'm just that way too. Like I don't understand what's wrong with saying like if somebody has a womb, why is it wrong to be like, oh, that's a woman, right? I don't understand. Or like I'm trying to learn, but I really just think it's the cultural thing of saying what somebody can do and what, because if you take that away, then the word doesn't matter. Like for example, another thing that I used to think, why wouldn't they just do this, is the word marriage was the union between man and woman. And the argument was that you have to keep the sanctity of marriage and that the word means a union between man and woman. I never could understand why they wouldn't keep marriage, the union between man and woman, and then make another word for the union between same sex. So then you could have that. Like I'm gonna make up a word, garage. Like you don't call a heterosexual a homosexual, because homosexual means to like the same gender. You don't say you're a heterosexual if you like the same gender, and you don't call it heterosexual. You understand what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. So why not say, okay, the union between, y'all want to keep the sanctity of the word marriage because marriage means the union, fine. So this means the union between, I never understood. I always felt like, here's a quick solution. Like I just never.
Marriage just means things put together. It doesn't mean a boy thing and a girl thing put together.
If you were going back and looking in Webster's dictionary, it had meant that. And so I was like, well, fine. Like that's just my way of thinking. Like, fine, that can mean that if y'all want. Like, we don't go back and change the word of heterosexual, right? Mm-hmm. Heterosexual means heterosexual. So I was like, why can't they just keep that word and we come up, kiddo, I see you like breathing.
Well, so you actually bring up a great point of like, well, why we got all these words, and Fatima was just talking about, I don't want all these labels. Who came up with these labels? Mm-hmm. So we got this big old pile of labels, right? And we can just keep getting more of them and more of them. And then we're going to figure out we don't need them anymore.
Because we are every single we have everything in us, you know? We are, you know, I'm gay, straight, bi, whatever you want to call me. I'm everything, you know?
But I'm not. So then what would I call me? Because
Sayla.
like,
well, that's where I think
but
people...
if I was explaining my sexuality and I was going to be like, man, like on the Richter scale, like I like roughness, like what I like.
So I think that's where we get lost, because like what law school taught me, and I love it and I hate it at the same time, is that you don't need the word, you just need to know how to define it, right? Mm-hmm. And so I use descriptions of a lot of things before I'll use a word. Because what the word means to me may mean something different to you and to you and to you and to you. But if I describe myself as me, right, so if I say I'm a woman that loves women, whatever you call that is what you call that. But I told you that I'm a woman that loves women, period, right? And I think that we live in a society that's so caught up.
But you can't call yourself a woman, Fatima.
I can. So the thing is, I even rechanged how I spell woman, right? I spell it WOMAYN.
Mm-hmm.
Why? Because it's self-identified women. Like if you call yourself, you selfly identify as a woman, by all means. And I'm actually about to change it to like now, and I use beautiful being and I use being, right? So because I think if we start just taking away from the labels and we stop saying, how do I identify myself? Who are you? Like the question is, who are you? And are you the labels or are you the things that labels describe? Because I would rather know, like, you like to cook, and so if you say, oh, I love food and I love to cook food, I love to eat food, I love to go buy food, I may say, oh, and then she's a foodie. But you just told me you like to cook food, you like to eat food, you like to buy food. That doesn't mean that you're a foodie. It means that you like to cook food. You know what I'm saying? So I think that if we started a culture of moving away from, I have to call myself a label, then we could all be who our purpose. We could walk in our purpose, because now Isaiah is Isaiah, and Isaiah is whatever Isaiah was made to be, however Isaiah was made to be that, and however Isaiah describes Isaiah to me, then I'm gonna be like, okay, that's Isaiah.
So like, I love and respect everyone. If they want me to call them Sheila, I'm gonna call them Sheila. If they want me to call them Christina, I'm gonna call them Christina. If you want me to call you Mario, I'm gonna call you Mario. But I do use they, them, because it's just way too confusing for me. Like, I just, if I know that they don't want to be called her, or if they don't call it him, I say they, them, because I can't remember whose pronouns are or what, first of all. And I'm also still like, I don't understand what's wrong with identifying that I have an XX chromosome, and maybe somebody's gonna explain it to me, and I'll be like, oh, but right now I'm still at that place.
There's nothing wrong with explaining or describing yourself as such. I think people tend to. So I'm with you on the sense of I should be able to talk about my womb and it be fine, right?
Yeah.
I should be able to discuss what it means to be a woman, to have a period, to go through all those things, and it not be on a, well, you're not being inclusive by talking about that. That's not fair. Like, that's my experience. That's a lot of other women's experience. I should be able to share that experience.
Yeah.
But then also being able to say, using that with people who may not like that terminology probably is a thing, and some people are turned off on it. But once again, that may not be anything with you. Like, people have their own things they have to move through. Like, it's traumatizing being in this world. It's traumatizing not having a space and then having to create a space and then making sure that within the space you have a space because you don't have space. So it's just being able to say that it may not be you specifically. It may be the fact that the people that you're dealing with are dealing with some things too.
Jelly, I feel your spirit moving a little bit. Go ahead.
Yeah, I get a lot of what's being said, and I think I agree with them about what is being said about society, the pace that we're moving, that eventually we're going to move away from labels. But I think where we are currently right now is the introduction of asking people what their labels are. So we move very slowly. So a lot of spaces, I used to, it's not that it bothered me, it's just I was lazy whenever it came to, I think this person might identify differently, but I don't want to take that extra step and ask them what it is, right? So like, that's something that I was educated on by a colleague who asked me, what are your pronouns? And I was like, well, why are you asking me that? Yeah, obviously I'm a woman. you know, why are you asking me that? She's like, but you're male presenting, so I'm not too sure. I don't want to offend you. And I was like, well, here we go with this liberal logic, right? This is my mind, right? At the moment. This is a couple years ago. I was like, oh, here we go with this liberal logic. And then I was just like, you know what? Thank you. That was a very educational moment for me, because now whenever I enter LGBTQ spaces, I'll ask people what their pronouns are. But it's about going that extra mile, and I think educating people about the importance of why we need to do that, as we're moving forward to just removing labels as a whole, because I'm like you too. It makes me nervous. I don't want to identify somebody incorrectly, and then it bothers them, and then there's that tension.
Right.
And I think for a lot of us in the LGBTQ community, there's also that space where we don't really talk about how our transsexual brothers and sisters feel. We don't really ask them, hey, are you trans? Are you transitioning? Where are you on the spectrum? There's a huge divisiveness already in our community internally, so it's really hard to educate cisgender people on what we're going through with labels. So yeah, what I tell people all the time is I tell them, I encourage you to ask people for your labels if you feel like they identify a specific way, but there's always a time and place until we remove labels eventually. So
I just don't think it's the labels, y'all. I just don't think it's the doggone labels. I think it's what we've assigned for them to mean.
Yeah.
Because I have a problem with somebody feeling bad about being a woman or a man. You shouldn't feel bad about, like, I am a woman, but I've presented myself, I've been what they say, tomboy, like, because I present myself, you know, wearing more outfits that they say are boys. Does that mean? So I just feel like it's what we've assigned to the word that is such a problem. Because guess what? Let's say that we make they, them mean something different. It's a word. It is what we've assigned to what we expect from the word that is the problem. That is what I think is going to change. Is that we don't have people can be free to present themselves how they feel that they want to present themselves, and there won't be like you can't draw eyeliner on your face. You know? Like one culture says a man can wear eyeliner. Another culture says a man cannot wear eyeliner. Like, these are variables that change with time and place, right? So that's my opinion, and I respect everyone else's opinion as well. Now we're about to make another hardcore turn.
Of course we are.
Yeah.
Skirt.
This is gonna be like hopefully the last major turn, but it's the hardest major turn. Okay, and you and I have discussed this also before, so.
I'm scared.
So let's talk about operating on yourself to change. Look at Fatima. Your sex. Let's talk about.
Everyone has a right to do whatever they want to themselves.
Yes, I agree.
I agree with that as well.
I did too.
I do believe that I don't think that there's really gender. Before I came down here, I don't think I had a gender. So I'm thrown into this male body, and this is what I've been given to work with. So me personally, at this point where I am, I don't know. It's hard for me to understand, to change that part about me, you know, because that's something that I was given. But I agree totally with you. If if other people want to do that, free will, do whatever you want.
And love them for whatever it is that they want to do. But no. I want to share with y'all a little bit. Are you nervous?
Oh, no, I was going to jump in. But
go ahead. No, you go ahead, please.
So I have a different perspective. Everyone has the right to do what they want with their bodies.
Yes.
We live in a capitalistic society, though.
Yes.
And surgery isn't free.
Yes.
And because it isn't free, then people are actually going into debt and or having to pay for something that a society says that you have to have in order to fit in. In order to be a male, you're supposed to have these parts. In order to be a female, you have to have these parts. And then if you want to have these parts, you have to pay an astronomical amount of money to get them. So there's that. So we're going to pin that, right? And then on top of it, the first person to ever transition was a white man to a white woman, right? And this is science. So my question is, who did they practice these surgeries on? We know they weren't white bodies, and they weren't regular white bodies, right? So who were they practicing the first transitional surgeries to make sure that when they did when a white man did transition to a white woman that was successful, because we all know in history that Europeans were never unless they were Jewish, they were never doing any type of scientific things on any bodies that were Eurocentric. They were always black and brown bodies. So I'll pin that. Then my third thing is being able to then go back to the labels. Who's not even labels. Let's go back to the fact, why? Why did someone say that in order to be a man or a woman, you have to have this surgery that cost you money, and that was done and probably, practiced on black and brown bodies, and now everyone should have it? Like, I want to understand the why. Why was the surgery even thought of? Why did people do it in that way? And especially considering that it was a white man who transitioned to a white woman. So call me a conspiracy theorist, but when white people start playing God and start changing things, I have a problem with it. They start making our water, right? No one's questioning the fact that we're now drinking out of water bottles. They start making our food. We have now food scientists, so our food is now made in laboratories. And now they're taking people's body parts and they're redoing them. Once again, people have the right to do it. But my question is, why are we okay with it costing money, right? If this is what we're all supposed to be able to do, if we all have the right to be who we want to be, why is it such an astronomical amount to do it, right? And then on top of it, how did they get to the point where it was a successful surgery? And why are black and brown people okay with not questioning who were they practicing these things on before they had a successful transition? Because for me, my consciousness is like, and my ancestors are not okay with it, and it's for those reasons, not because I think that everybody whatever. No, they're logical reasons. My logic is we live in a capitalistic society, and how many people are becoming wealthy off of people transitioning. And then what it takes to continue to transition, right? Hormones, money. Mm-hmm. Therapy, money, mm-hmm. right? All the syringes, all the bottles, money. So if we're talking about making sure people have better quality of life, that's not the same thing as an actual surgery, because better quality of life is being able to say the life that you have is the only one you have. So how do we make this life the best life? But not a life that you have to go into actual debt to have. Mm-hmm. And on top of the debt that you have to have, some people died in order for this surgery to become successful. I can't support it. Like, I can't support anything where, like, that's like the gynecologist, right? There's a new thing coming out about how black women were the subjects of the, like, gynecologists. So some of the best gynecological things that people see and go through, they were all tested on black women. Mm-hmm. With no anesthesia. That was acceptable to them. So my thing is, are we going to have those kind of conversations about transitioning? Because if we're not going to talk about the fact that it's a capitalistic society that is making a tremendous amount of money on people's, like, need to be one or the other, that society says. Yeah, exactly. Right? Uh-huh. And the fact that there's a whole group of people who are probably slaughtered just for the transition to be successful. I'm like, I have problems with that part. Mm-hmm. But it is your body, and you do have the right to do what you want. If you have the money and the fortitude to do it, by all means, okay, but... Does
anybody have a thought towards that?
Yeah, I'd like to add also the technicalities of transitioning over. I think there's two parts to it. Is the discussion about the use of restrooms, and the second one would be how insurance identifies people who want to transition. If you want to use your insurance to transition, the definition for it is gender identity disorder. So it's still seen as a disability or a mental health issue, which I think is huge in society. Is people are like, okay, do what you want, but they still see people in the community that are trans as having a mental disability. And that's seen a lot in our own community as well, LGBTQ. Mm-hmm. Our own community discriminates against transgender people. Even each year we face with the state ledge about the use of the bathroom, saying, oh, well, there's pedophilia that could be involved. And I'm like, why are these two so close to each other? So for me, it's mostly the issue and the concern around the technicalities of the word transgender. I don't care what you do to your body. I'm more concerned about why is it called gender identity disorder in every major insurance.
I think that we watched something that, since somebody had said it also when we were having a discussion another time, and I think we watched something about it, but they were saying that it's like as if somebody's saying, no, I'm an amputee, like I really don't have this leg, no, I'm not supposed to have this leg, and then them cutting off a perfectly healthy leg. That was like the argument behind it. And another person, something we had said something else. It'll come to me as we go. Hold on, let me think. Okay, it'll come back to me. So that was one thing that basically I had came up, and another thing that had came up was that it was so we had came up with, and I had settled in it, right, that like maybe it's the fact that people are being told that you can't have this body part and move like this in the world that's making them want to, get rid of the body part, maybe. Because what's wrong with having that body part? It's just a piece of flesh, right? Like, what's wrong with that? And so why are you going to remove a perfectly good organ? This was our argument at first. It's a beautiful, perfectly operating organ. Why do you want to remove it? Who told you that that's wrong or bad? We had to resolve that. But then I got to thinking after our discussion a little bit that like there's stuff like like Botox and like cosmetic surgery. Now you are like, I'm not with it, but you know what I'm saying, like I don't know. And then I started thinking about that a little bit, and my argument was like
I'm not anytime
I'm always gonna put everything out there, y'all.
If you're not, so there's life threatening surgeries that I believe people should have or surgeries that will help in life threatening situations. That's better verbiage that I agree in. But everything else, if it's not to aid your body into doing what your body needs to do better, if that's not the surgery, what are you doing? Like, people are making millions of dollars by convincing you that you're not enough. Like, people are making millions of dollars by saying you have to be this thing in order to fit into society. People are sitting in houses with helicopters and boats and islands and shit because we live in a society that says you're not good enough. The way that God made you, the way that the thing that is greater than us made you to be is not good enough. And because it's not good enough for $5,099.99 3 times a year, I can help you be the best version of what we think you should be because society dictates you. And that's my problem with surgery. That's my problem with the world right now, is that humans are so caught up in being what this fictitious white man said you should be. Because it's a fictitious white man. There's no one saying, there's no women saying, creating a standard. Because if there was women creating standards, how many things would be different right now? You know what I mean? I'm just saying. So for me, my biggest issue is that people don't take a step back and ask why. Why is plastic surgery a thing? Why do we feel the need that we have to have plastic surgery? Why do you feel the need that you're not good enough? Why aren't you okay with being in your own skin? Who told you shouldn't be okay in your own skin? What told you shouldn't be okay with your own skin? And then if you can answer all those questions in the positive, by all means, go have the surgery. But most times, people still are unhappy with their bodies, with how they are in some way, in whatever plastic surgery. They're like, oh, I feel better. No, you don't. You look better. But your spiritual reflection is still just as ugly as what you thought you were on the outside. Because you haven't figured, we don't live in a society that says, take time to love yourself.
The way that you are.
Just take time to love yourself. Figure out who you are. Appreciate your ancestors and the divine for making you that way, and be okay with that. We don't live in a society that feeds that says you should want to be you. I'm all about telling kids they should, you're beautiful, you're amazing, you're incredible, and just all the things. Because we live in a society that says that you should, if you don't like you for a certain price, you can change you. What? How is that okay? I don't like myself, so I can work really, really, really hard, not vacation, not spend time with people that I love, not do really great things like build community. I cannot do that because I'm working really, really hard, and the only reason why I'm working is so that I can make money. And the only reason I'm making money is so that I can change myself to be what society says I should be in order to feel better about myself. That is crazy as hell.
And it's huge now because we have social media. So we're able to just get on our phones and compare ourselves to anyone, you know, all these people who have a big following or whatever, and we start to compare. So I think that's where the root is when we start to do that.
I can't even argue with that, yo. Like, I can't even argue with that. And it's real. Like, when I bring up the Botox thing, like, I'm looking at people and, you know, having a line on your forehead like that, you know, you don't want to look old, you know what I'm saying? You can't be having lines when you go like this, Fatima. But at the end of the day, you can't argue with truth. Like, for me, like, that's because someone is dictating that age is
ugly. And it's not. It's not. And then even think about, and also, like, I used to wear makeup, right? And I tell you, makeup, like, my friend worked at MAC and, like, manager at MAC, so my face was beat for the gods. Like, all of the gods in every language, on every continent, for everyone.
Oh my God.
Beat. Hear me? Beat. Cool. I stopped wearing makeup because A, I couldn't afford it. B, my skin was like, nah. And then C, I recognized that I became another person. Like, makeup was a mask, right? And so when I want to be another person, when I want to be something in someone else, I put my mask on. But I don't want people to fall in love with the mask. I want them to fall in love with Fatima, so I show up with Fatima all the time. But then if you look at social media, half the people who have thousands of followers, what do they really look like? How long are their hair?
like, I do natural one day. Like, I do natural one day, and then sometimes I like I'm Middle Eastern. We're gonna paint our eyes, fam. Like, that goes back to my ancestors.
That
be like,
sense.
yeah, get some mascara and some eyeliner. Like, for real, it's just in my bones. And so for me, it's art more than a cover up. And like,
but
and
makeup,
you know me, I'll show up with no makeup.
But that's not the same thing. Like,
trying to cover something is different than being artistic.
Yeah, there's eyelashes, and then there's, like, people who look completely different
when they take it all off.
And you've seen those Instagram, like, the people who do really good makeup.
What's like, so this kind of is going to be comparative.
I think it's
cool. What's like,
me too, but
if somebody
they shouldn't have to.
If somebody
they shouldn't have to
is the doggone argument. I was about to say, if somebody has mad blemishes that are really, really terrible, what's wrong with a product that can cover that for them? But the answer is that they shouldn't have to.
But then going back to, why do you have to, like, when I eat right, when I drink water, when I do the things that are good for my body,
she walks around and be like, did
right?
you drink water today?
I don't have to cover up my blemishes. But when I'm eating processed food, when I'm not drinking water, when I'm not taking care of myself, I gotta do all these things.
So you're trying to get it from the outside in.
Right, and it's inside out. Like, society has made us think that everything that we need is on the outside of us. And not understanding that everything we need is on the inside of us. No matter what you call yourself, no matter what you believe in, no matter who you sleep with, no matter who you love, it's all about how you feel and who you are from here, and then that shines out. But society says that we're not even supposed to pay attention to this person or this being in here. We're supposed to have our face. We're supposed to pay. Because my thing is, I don't have any money. So anything that I have to pay for, I'm not for it. Because right? I don't have any money. So I'm not for it. But then if I start thinking about it, well, I'm not for it because I'm also paying into someone else's, like, lifestyle that is telling me that who I am naturally isn't good enough. So I should pay into yours to buy your cream and your mascara and your $50 brushes and your $45 this and your $50 that. And then if that's not good enough, hell, I can go to a plastic surgeon or go to a spa for a day and pay hundreds of dollars and come out looking like the person I always wanted to be. What?
Yeah, and touching on that note, tying into that and social media, we could see what happened with Caitlyn Jenner with the fact that she didn't want to cut her bottom part, and a lot of people even in the transgender community said, no, you are not really a part of our community, you know, just because you don't want to cut your part off. So you see that all the time, right? Like, why does she have to cut her part off to be completely known as a woman? Why she looks like a woman, she's wearing the makeup and all that, and
but why can't I'm just curious, why can't they be a man who presents themselves as what the world labels as a woman? Because I don't understand. Like, for me, woman means you have a womb, and there's nothing wrong with that. Like, what's wrong with it's a doggone labels?
It's a label thing. It's a label thing.
People just are who they are, and they shall be who
like,
they
what's
should
wrong with it? Like, oh man, I don't know.
And on a note about transgender people, and I always bring it up, has nothing to do with the conversation, is every major civil rights or protest in the world has been backed by a black transgender woman. And many people don't know that. So I always remind people.
Say that again?
Every major civil rights and protest has been backed by a transgender.
And also homosexual people.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Major key roles.
And black women. I mean.
Well, it wouldn't even be anything without the civil rights. I would like it to be known right now. The civil rights movement would be nothing. Nothing without black women.
Well,
No, they should. The black men are in the front speaking.
Right.
But nothing gets done without a piece of paper doesn't get moved across the office.
If it wasn't a black woman taking it, saying, here.
Oh, no.
So true. But you're right, though. I think that's an issue, too. But, like, the history of people who identify as transgender and the fact that people don't know that there was a lot of women of a global majority, that's what I call women, like people of color, women of a global majority who are transgender who actually did so much. And it was before, like, and I think once again, it was before the time plastic surgery was a thing. They were still them. There may not have been a word for it. Like, they may not have been like, oh, we're transgender. And even looking at when the term transgender came about in society and how OGs were transgendered before there was a name to call them. They were just them, right? Like, they were who they were. And even in my mom's time, she talks about, people from the neighborhood who we would call transgender now, but they were just Mr. Such and Such and Mrs. Such and Such. And I'm just like, I want to go back to that. I want to go back to the Mr. Such and Suches and Mrs. Such, and just knowing their story. Like, yeah, they were this and this and this, and they did all of these amazing things. But a lot of times, all we do is remember them as being the transgendered activists, right? And they were so much more than that. They were so much more than being a transgendered person. But
isn't there much more to all of us?
Right, but unfortunately the labels are the ones that people remember.
It's the labels that is running them up. Do you have something to say? Or are you just still
There's a whole pile
of things that I would like to say.
Not things that I would like to say. No.
Okay.
I had a huge crush on this guy once, and he didn't like me back, and I was like, what? I was like, why? Like, come on, dude, I'm pulling all the good moves on you. And I guess he was just going through something, and he finally explained to me, because I opened up to him, and he explained to me that he felt like he was a woman trapped in a male body. And I was like, wow, I never thought of, being attracted to someone who who is going through something that, going through that. And so, but it didn't, I was thinking about it and it was like, it didn't change anything. He's still the same person.
So if he did change into a woman, would you love him still?
Yeah, I don't know if I would. I don't know if it's a body part thing, like if I'm just attracted to the male physical body, But that's a good question. I don't know if I haven't gotten that far.
Sorry, ladies. Sorry, ladies.
I can answer that question. So my very first girlfriend transitioned, and it was very interesting to now. I always called them by their name, but then having to deal with how do I talk about them because they were a girl because they were my first girlfriend, right? And but now they're a man. And being able to say, I don't date people who identify as trans men because I don't date men. Like, that's just not my thing. If I wanted a man, I don't date men. Like, period. You want to be a man, great. I love you and will always love you. But I love women I love women, like, just.
Amen.
Like, I love women. So for me, when people talk about whether you would love someone that is transitioning, I will always love, like, once again, you do, but I know that my attraction, like how I am, I love women. So if you're transitioning to be a man, I can't deal with the whole man, like, personality. Men in America is really interesting, and I just really can't deal with that, period. I don't care what kind of man you identify as, I just don't like men. So for me, it was, if I was ever with a woman who is going to transition or think about transition, I'm all the way clear. Like, I will be here in your life as your friend forever, but I don't like men. Not like that. Like, no, I'm good. The only time I want to come across a man is when I gotta procreate. And I really don't want to come across a man.
So I just wanted to be clear that I'm pretty much closing right now. Is that okay? Like, anybody last? Like, you have to say something else? I just want to be clear that we don't have to agree to love each other. If there's somebody out there that is watching that wants to make those moves and to transition, I love you. Everyone at this table, I am convinced, loves you. You do not have to live anything else but your own life, and I'm gonna love you. So, and I just want you all to know that we might have opinions about it. Like, for example, Fatima, what she said about the world, putting these standards on us of what beauty is and what is acceptable and stuff, that was true. I subscribe to that. And I might still go get a Botox shot. You know what I'm saying? So I just wanted that to be known. So sometimes what we see as true, I just want you to know that we love you. Meeting of the Minds loves you. And I really hope that whoever's watching got to see a glimpse into someone else's world and someone else's life today, and different perspectives, and seeing the world was shown, and that be okay. That be okay, that you don't have to compromise to have tolerance. Tolerance does not mean you have to compromise how you think and how you believe to let someone else maneuver in the world for what they think is okay and right. And so that was what this was about today. And I hope that that's what got conveyed. So thank you for watching Meeting of the Minds, and we'll see you next time.
Intellectually engaging to think outside the lines for conversation about the nation that never leaves you blind. Take a listen and pay attention. Here is where you find the educational, sensational meeting of the minds.